Game in '89. How's it feel to know you'll soon be inducted into this Hall of Fame?
It's an incredible honor. I went back and I looked at the roster, from the game that year, and it's just it's kind of a who's who of guys that were part of that game. So you know how important it was, for each of us as players, to have that opportunity to get on that platform and to be able to, years later be inducted into the Hall of Fame for such a not just a meaningful game, but a meaningful week that we spent out there, because it's not just about football. I think it really is kind of the first time that we got an opportunity to understand the importance of community and athletics kind of working together for the greater good.
Well, talking about the partnership, it's a natural. America's team, America's longest running.
Yeah, right.
East to west, you get to be right in the middle of it. It's
Yeah.
gotta be exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited because when we did the East-West Shrine game, they gave us a little card, so we have free entry into any East-West Shrine game moving forward. So it was always hard to get out to California or Las Vegas on that weekend. So now I'll be able to utilize that. I think it was very smart of the organization to recognize at an early stage how much this country loves the game of football, and to be able to use that as a vehicle along with what you're trying to accomplish with Shriners Children's to come together and to work together. And now you add in the Dallas Cowboys with the game here at the Star. We were at the game last year at AT&T, and I can't wait for the guys to get in this year and really have that opportunity to be in front of a crowd that feels full. It's tough to fill AT&T when you have kids from all over the country coming to play a game. But here at Ford Field, I think it's going to be an incredible environment for the guys that are playing the game.
See some of the kids' stories, not only Dallas, but any kids that you've interacted with from Shriners Children's. How much more does that make you, respectful about the game?
I think that's where you learn that really football is a game. For a lot of us, it's the beginning of a career, but really in a situation where you get around the challenges that some of these people are facing that are working with Shriners Children's and see what their day is like every single day. I mean, to have Dallas here today, an amputee from just above the knee, and he's always going to want to play football and to share. I wanted to ask him, were you faster than you thought you were at 14 when you finally got to run full speed? Were you surprised that you finally now had the treatment, and how excited were you now that, hey, I can continue my athletic career? Those are things that as a football player you can't do without an organization like Shriners Children. So the wisdom to see the natural connection. And then I do always tell people that Troy Aikman was the first person in our group that recognized the ability to use your platform as a professional athlete to give back to the community, and he did with causes that were near and dear to his heart. The challenges that he had as a young boy growing up in Oklahoma, he wanted to make sure that he could do something so that people that had to follow a path like that, it was a little bit easier for them. So he was always the first one in our group when we came in '89, and just that whole championship foundation that was built over the next couple of years that kind of led the way of tying, football with community and finding something that you were passionate about and using your platform to help bring notoriety to it and to help the kids or the adults that are working in that environment.
What lasting memory do you have from that game, a play on the field or someone you played with that lasts with you right now?
The biggest one for me is going out there with my co-captain at Syracuse University, Marcus Paul, who passed away a couple of years ago. Marcus was the person at Syracuse, and we said this at his funeral services, everybody wanted to be like Marcus. And, we kind of have a saying that says, kind of what would Marcus do? All of us need to be a little bit more like Marcus was. And I got to spend like a full week with him. We were teammates and we were friends, but I did not have a relationship with him like I got to be a part of that week out at the East-West Shrine game. So we became closer friends, better friends during that week. I got to meet Mark Stepnowski and Tony Tolbert and, gravitated towards them. And then on draft day when it happens, oh my gosh, I met them at the East-West Shrine game. This is amazing that, we're going to get back together again with the Dallas Cowboys. So for me, it was kind of that, it was very prophetic, but like my whole experience there, the next chapter of my life was going to be written with guys that I had met at the East-West Shrine game. So I thought that was always something that was very, very unique.
Daryl, you talked about the benefit of showcasing your ability to block inside in this kind of game and giving you that platform. You're an executive too in football management. How much value is there for these guys just, hey, let's just drop the ball in the grass and play, without, being part of their own teams? What kind of scouting opportunity is this kind of game?
What I have learned in my executive role with the United Football League is how much goes into the game of football that you're not really aware of until you start to dig into it a little bit. To your point, from a scouting and a personnel perspective, from an operations component, just our supporting cast. It was athletic training, strength and performance and equipment, but it was Bucky and Mike and Jim and Kevin and Mike Woysick and Joe Jurassic. They were friends, but no, that's what they do. That's their contribution to the team. So. We're trying to do that in the United Football League. We're trying to get that landscape of the game of football that's out there. And what we're trying to do for our players, we also want to do for anybody that wants to get into that support staff arena. And hopefully the more we grow, the more opportunity we create. And a game like this, just, if that's something that you're passionate about, if you already have that bug, you want to be in the football world, and you can't be a player, but you can be somebody that can contribute in one of these other areas, that's an opportunity to get some real game experience, especially when it's coming here. So can some of our guys who would be available at that time, in January we haven't gone to camp yet, could they get in a little bit earlier and take them behind the scenes and get them to watch everything, how everything works from a broadcast standpoint, from everything. It's amazing all the different areas that you can get involved in the game of football that don't have anything to do with being out there on the field, one of the 22 that's playing the game, but from coaching, personnel, operations, support staff, marketing, ticket sales, sponsorships. I mean, it's unbelievable. And until you really kind of get back and get involved in it, you lived in your little world of what it took for me to get ready every Sunday. And I tell people all the time, we would wake up and we go out to the airport and we get on a plane and go to the host city, play the game, get back on the plane and come home. The amount of energy and passion that has to be there to create that itinerary on a weekly basis is something that absolutely blew me away. And we go through it and there's never a blip. Never a blip. There was never a problem. And that's how much it means to those people behind the scenes, behind the curtain, that you don't even realize how hard they're working for you to make sure that your weekend is mistake-free so you can be solely focused on performing.
Daryl, Jerry singled you out as sort of that unsung hero, the guy leading the way for Emmett. We got a lot of doctors with Shriners that are kind of unsung heroes.
Yeah.
Talk about the importance of shining that spotlight, like Jerry said, on the hard work that's gone into all of this behind the scenes.
Yeah. I think it's something that you find people who really just they love what they do. They don't need the notoriety, but they appreciate the validation, if that makes sense. I think we all enjoy a pat on the back or a job well done, and we don't need much more than that because we love what we do, and we're grateful that we have that opportunity. And whether that's being a fullback in an NFL offense, blocking for a guy like Emmitt Smith, or a doctor that's working, with the Shriners Children's, and you're doing things that are making an impact on their life. You spend 5 minutes with Dallas in the back and kind of dig into his story a little bit, and what he shared, at the podium, is unbelievable. And where we're from, I'm there in '89. Is there an opportunity for somebody in Dallas' situation to be able to be a middle linebacker and play football at that time? Did we have the technology? Were we that far down the road in that? Or is this something that continues to grow and give kids chances? So the unsung hero is always going to be important in every facet of life. You have some people that relish the spotlight, that are driven by recognition and the spotlight. You need those people. You really do. We would talk about our teams. If you look at our team, we were the perfect mix. When you have a championship team, you have to have those guys. We needed to have a guy like Michael Irvin that wanted the ball in the biggest moments, in the tightest games, that had the most value to him. We have to have that guy that's like, just throw me the ball, I'll help us win the game. And then you had to have the other guys behind the scenes that were solid in pass protection, so Troy Aikman has the time to throw the ball to a Michael Irvin to win that game. So the unsung hero And the star player or the unsung hero and the star physician all have to work in conjunction to really make a difference and have an impact.
And it kind of gives you a new sense of, appreciation, that we didn't have to we didn't have to face some of the struggles that they did. So to give back is a great thing to be able to do, isn't it?
Yeah. And listen, the more time you take to sit down and get to know guys that play the game of football at a high level, we've all got something there. Some have a lot more than others. We always look at it as that was something that drove me. That was something that shaped me. And if you ask a lot of them, if you could go back and do it all over again, would you take that part out? And it's hard to say yes to that because you don't know how would that impact you. Would I be the same? Would I be as driven? So I think one of the things that I have found now is I spend a little bit more time getting to visit with people, and I think it's something that's going on in the NFL, and I think that's why we see a lot of teams that are really, really close today. They share a lot of stuff that we kept inside. We were not an open book. We had our stuff, and I'll manage my stuff. And now today, you got a lot of players, and you have a lot of coaches that are creating a culture where you're going to share that stuff. And it's very liberating, and it builds a really, really strong bond. We're kind of selective in who we would let into our world, where I think today a lot of these teams that are seeing some success have made that a part of the culture that they've established within their team.
What did it mean to you personally? You said you talked to Dallas for a little bit, you heard a little of his story. What did it mean to you personally hearing his story, knowing where he started to where he is at now, and knowing he's going to be playing a game on Friday night?
Yeah, I asked him, I said, so you're at 10, what is the goal? He said, the goal's always been 20, but I only have 4 games left. I said, well, we always stay at 20, right? That's where we said we can always adjust. So I said, it's got to be at least 15, right? So we can't just go one sack a game for the remainder of the season and get stuck at 14. So we got to have that one game where we have at least 2. And he said he would get to 15. But my favorite part about the whole story was what he shared out there today was, for the first time I ran full speed at 14 years old. That is one of those things that will always stick with me. And was that the moment that you realized you could play football? Somebody had helped me with the challenge that I'm dealing with, realize my potential, because my potential in my mind was here, and the Shriners group helped me elevate it to here, which I can't do on my own. I've got to have that, and as soon as that happens, I can't believe none of us asked him the question, were you faster than you thought? When you ran the fastest you ever ran at 14, were you faster than you thought? And did that flip the switch in your mind that you can do this? And that's the one thing. I shared a story with him with a young boy who wrestled back in our area, and he had a similar situation to Dallas, and it was a big challenge. And he would tell everybody that came onto the mat, don't look at me like that. Because you can see, they know that there's an empathy or there's a curiosity or there's something there. And he would tell them, don't look at me like that because I'm not looking at you like that. Because I'm coming after you. And I love to hear Dallas say that. Don't feel sorry for me. You're going to have your hands full because I'm coming after you. So I just love, because the mind is such a powerful thing, that if you have that belief in yourself, and that's what you're creating, you're not creating a football player, you're creating belief in a young man, that once football's over, he's going to take this lesson that he's learned and use it somewhere else on a different platform and probably do even greater things.
With the Cowboys and natural, I think, between a great American institution like the East-West Shrine Bowl and Jerry's really embraced this thing, hasn't he? Just talk about it.
Yeah, so, the Dallas area has really defined itself as kind of the sports mecca, and you look at all the businesses that have been coming in here, and for good reason, When we started looking at opportunities where we would fit in, obviously, the Jones family was really receptive to it, and you heard Jerry today in his conversation, the support that he has given us and just being there, whether it be for guidance or, trying to make sure that we've got the facility in the right condition, working with us, being flexible. They've just been very accommodating to us. So we're really proud to be part of that family and really feel the love coming from the entire Dallas Cowboys.
It really does take a lot of people for this thing to work. You're talking about the Cowboys, you're talking about all the doctors. it's amazing but this is America at its best when everybody's working together for the same goal, and the payoff, you see it in a person like that.
Yeah, and you start talking about the people that come to this. You look at our camp, we have a lot of volunteers that come, and they'll take a week off from their work, whether they're a trainer or a physician or somebody like that. They just want to come be part of it. And so for somebody to say, hey, I'm gonna use my vacation, which is precious, you're taking time away from family and friends to go down and do something, it speaks to how wonderful an event this is.
How has this game been able to benefit Shriners over the course of it being in Dallas?
Specifically here in Dallas, it's really, I hate to say it, but the Dallas Cowboys have been around forever. I remember when I was a kid watching, Moose, I was more college at that point, but, watching those guys, watching Emmett, and for us to be able to come in and be part of that and be associated with the name, it just puts a little bit more backbone behind what we do.
Yeah, and I thought Dallas did a great job of really communicating. You can tell it was from the heart. It's been a long, hard journey for him. There's so many others just like him. And Jerry said it best. This is a chance for the Cowboys to shine a light on these kids and all the wonderful, there's so many people that donate to this thing. It's got to be great to be a part of it.
Yeah, hearing his unscripted words, thanking the Shriners that were here, talking about how he grew up and always knew who the Shriners were. That says a lot about Jerry and as an individual, and then obviously about our organization. So we take a lot of pride anytime we put this fez on in what we do. And for somebody to be, out there as influential as Jerry is, to be able to recognize that, that's a feather in our fez, so to speak.
Exactly. What I meant.
I guess what makes the partnership between Shriners and the Shrine Bowl so powerful after all these years? What do you think about the most?
It's an interesting dynamic when you start looking at our bowl and then that other one that's played elsewhere, and we're competing for the same talent, and coming into the Dallas area where so many people are training, being able to have like the NFL Players Association come out and talk with our athletes to share stories. I can tell you a couple years ago we were over here at the hotel and we had the NFLPA come in, and Mean Joe Green, and we've got all these guys that are coming in, and they're the legends, and to have them just bop in, talk to a kid, and to be able to share a phone number and say, hey, that's my personal number, you call me if you have any questions. So Dallas, like I said, it's kind of the sports mecca at this point, and there's so many talented people that are here and that are offering to give that support to these college athletes as they're trying to make their way into the NFL. I just think it's a great partnership.